Anyway, at number 3, Christian McCaffrey.
Oh.
Running back. Christian, as I predicted, this is the season of the running back's revenge. When they remind everyone of, you don't remember that?
The running backs.
All the running backs I gave love to, Derrick Henry and Saquon. This is when they remind people of how valuable they are. Tony Pollard was leading the AFC in rushing. He still might be. Josh Jacobs has played well. Gibbs in Montgomery and Detroit. Yeah. The running backs are doing their thing. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Your team went 4-4 without you, struggled. All right, now you're back. You came back last week, 39 yards rushing. We won't hold it against you. Did make a big play receiving the football. But what are you going to do? This could be the last hurrah for the Niners. We know Debo may be gone. There could be other key players on defense that are gone. This is the year you guys need to make it happen. And on top of that, you make twice as much money as Derrick Henry. Almost much more than Saquon. You're the highest paid running back in the league. And in a year off season where running backs couldn't really get paid, you got a 2-year, $38 million extension. So C-Mac, I believe in you. Go out there and lead those Niners. All right.
Okay. So I don't think it's fair to put him on the list. I mean, I get it to a degree, but this is his second game of the season, coming back from, a legitimate, lingering, chronic injury that has obviously kept him out for months, and he hasn't played football now in literally months and months and months. Or the last time he played football was in February, so that was, 9 months or so ago, 9-10 months, whatever the exact timeline is. So that's a lot. That's a lot of time. He hasn't been able to go through conditioning and practicing in the ways that he would like to. So you got to give him the benefit of the doubt. You got to give him some grace to be able to kind of get reintegrated, to be able to carry the workload that people are used to him having. And I think this is a harder spot for the 49ers and Shanahan as a whole, because you're like, okay, we got Christian McCaffrey. We can rely on him now, but not so much as we're used to, right? We have to still be strategic. We know that we can't just throw him into the fire, because I'm sure everyone is aware of having to just kind of ease him into this season. And so that's a hard thing to figure out. That's a hard thing to balance, of how to you have this insane weapon in Christian McCaffrey, but he's not 100% there just yet. And so it's a harder thing to do. How would you game plan if you had Patrick Mahomes for only 3 quarters? It would be a whole different approach to the game if you only had 2.5 quarters of Lamar Jackson. It would be tough. It is. And that's a similar thing that you're getting with such a force to be reckoned with Christian McCaffrey. It's unclear exactly what is the messaging? What are the conversations that they're having with the doctors and the specialists? What is he saying that he can endure and take on? And again, it's not even just an injury perspective, but it's also just in terms of conditioning and game readiness. He didn't have preseason. He hasn't played for weeks. Now he's playing against other guys that are in game shape, that have been there now for weeks and are ready to go. So it's just going to take a second. I can't emphasize that enough. You can't just, be kind of resting and doing some, obviously he was doing some training and conditioning on his own, but it's just different. It's just not game readiness just there. Otherwise there would be no preseason. There would be no real off-season workouts and stuff like that. It would just be lifting weights and running sprints, and you'd be like, all right, let's go. But obviously we know it's a lot more than that. So I think he's got a few games to kind of get into this situation and kind of get settled. But I get that the 49ers as a whole need to start feeling like under duress, winning these divisional games. You have the Cardinals pulling away and whatnot. You have teams that seem to be firing at all cylinders, like the Eagles, like the Lions. And even if we look at the AFC now, right, you're going to be seeing the Chiefs, the Bills, the Ravens. So it's there's a lot of great teams. And the 49ers right now, right, last year it was they are a dominant team. If you said, I think the 49ers are going to win the Super Bowl, if you said that in week anywhere between 1 and 17 or whatever, you would be like, yeah, it makes sense. I see it. You wouldn't be a fool for saying it. That's how dominant they were. I know they had got beat pretty bad against the Ravens, but it was still a great bet against the 49ers. And going into the Super Bowl, you're like, 49ers got this. Let's go. They don't have that same level of momentum right now. And we can say, a big part of that is because of injuries and whatnot. But this is where the 49ers do need to kind of I don't want to say reinvent themselves, but they have to kind of, this is going to sound cheesy, but they have to like reignite their soul. They have to reignite what makes them special, what makes them dominant. I mean, the 49ers for a long time had this feeling of fear, especially in 22 and 23. It was very much like this team is anxiety inducing. Right? You have to face the 49ers and you're just like, oh man, they can really lay one on you. They can come at you from so many different angles and can win in a lot of different ways. And it was anxiety inducing. You feared them. They don't have that right now. Not to say that they can't recapture it as the season goes on, especially with Christian McCaffrey back out there, but they don't have that right now. And they need to kind of start building that a little bit, or just prove that they can consistently win these gritty, harder, more uglier games, that you can rely on Christian McCaffrey, Brock Purdy, Debo, Kittle, whoever at that time, that the defense can step up. So to me, this is more about the 49ers as a whole, and I really don't think there's any need, honestly, like pretty much zero need to single out Christian McCaffrey. Like I don't see the reason why at all, quite frankly. I know he's worked very hard to get back out there, to go, to get back on the field. And I know he's been all over seeing specialists and stuff like that and doing everything he can. And the risk for long-term severe injury definitely has to be increased relative to the body part and all of that. So believe me, he's laying a lot out on there, and he should have some grace, patience, and respect, honestly, more than anything. Certainly not duress, So I'm curious to see what the 49ers do and how they handle this, and how they continue to evolve, and how Christian McCaffrey continues to evolve this season. Like, if he has turned a corner from health-wise, is there anything that he has to continue to kind of, manage, and in what way? I would love to be able to be in the doctor's rooms listening to those conversations, because his injuries are so specific and so unique in terms of what the injury itself means, and in terms of like playing football with some of those injuries because of what it can lead to. It's why he had to go overseas to get different opinions, to be like, how do we figure this out? How do we manage this? Which is why he gave an interview recently where he was like, they have doctors and stuff like on the broadcast who've never met me, who've never seen any of my images, that don't know anything about my injury, and yet they're voicing their opinion. And he's like, it's just nonsense. And it is. It's just nonsense. You can kind of share your opinion, but not share it with such authority. And I think that's where the issues kind of came from. So we will see. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Do you think Christian McCaffrey should be on the bud list, or the 49ers as a whole? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. It's whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.